It has been a little over a month since Edge of Fate was released in Destiny 2, and it's safe to say that the DLC wasn't really what a lot of us expected it to be, and the same thing can be said for Bungie. For those of you who understandably want some numbers to back that up, Edge of Fate released with a Steam player count of 99,000 at its peak. Final Shape was 314,000, Lightfall was 316,000, Witch Queen was nearly 300,000, so that is 1/3 of the player base. That is genuinely awful. That being said though, it would be completely unfair to use those numbers to, justify Edge of Fate not being a good DLC, because most of that is, hype for the DLC before it even launches in the first place, and also the decisions Bungie has made with the game over the past couple years, which, if you guys have been playing the game or just have been in the general loop, you would know a lot of those decisions weren't exactly the best and they weren't received well from players, thus generating less hype for the DLC. Unfortunately though, it pains me to say this, the DLC hasn't been one of those situations where it just didn't launch with a high peak count, but it's still really, really good. It's not very good at all. I'm not going to sit here and say Edge of Fate is horrible, but it's very mediocre when we desperately needed a, slam dunk of a DLC to come through. And in my opinion, there are 3 major reasons the DLC has been as bad as it has been so far. One being the gear/armor system, the second being Crucible, and the third being Trials of Osiris. I'm going to talk about all these, in different sections of the video. We're going to start with gear because I think that is the main one that's affecting casual players, it's affecting hardcore players, and it's really just kind of shitting on the overall gameplay of Destiny 2. At the time of me making this video, what you guys are watching in the background, Solo Ops, is the fastest way to level your character all the way up to 450. Yeah, the fastest way is mindlessly playing solo missions with nobody else in your fire team over and over for tens to hundreds of hours until you finally reach max light. Oh, and did I also mention, you can't even use what you want to use in these missions because you have to use new gear. If you're not using new gear, it's going to take 15 times longer to actually get through all the way to 450, if it's even possible. So essentially, you need to have 3 weapons on that you would probably never use on your own accord, and a full armor set that, once again, you would probably never use, unless you're just constantly infusing it all the way up, which you can do, but it is going to cost a lot of materials over time. You're going to be running out of enhancement cores, and like I said, it's just not going to be a very fun experience at all. And I am a firm believer that Destiny 2 PvE is at its best when you are grinding with your friends. And if you don't have a lot of friends to play with, it still is, pretty rewarding to, let's say you find an LFG, whatever, you guys complete a raid, you get some new weapons, you get adepts maybe if you're playing something on a super high difficulty. Like, Destiny 2 is at its best with other players, not by just mindlessly playing the same mission over and over and over again, and then, oh, I guess the next day comes by, and guess what I get to do? I get to go from K1 Logistics on the moon to Caldera. Oh my god, dude, what a fun and exciting gameplay loop. The only argument you can really make against what I am saying right now is the fact that you don't necessarily need to hit 450 light. 200 is the max, and then 450 is the seasonal max. But here's the thing, guys. If you are at 200 light, you will never get a drop higher than a tier 3 item, which I guess is cool, you know what I mean? I guess it has enhanced perks and whatnot. Tier 2s have enhanced perks. But essentially, you're missing out on the best items in the game no matter what activities you play. Let's say you're completing some very hard activities. You aren't getting rewarded like you would be had you, gone and spent hundreds of hours farming solo ops, right? That is what is getting you better rewards rather than the actual difficulty of the activities you're doing. Which for someone like me, I guess I could technically, afford to do because I make videos on this game and I benefit from doing so, right? But imagine all, just casual players loading up the game. Are those guys going to spend hundreds and hundreds of hours farming some mindless activity with the little time they have to play? Hell no, dude. I'm not trying to get home from my job and then play solo ops Caldera for 10 hours and be like, all right, got to go back to work tomorrow. That was a great use of my time. Nobody is doing that. And that's by far my biggest issue with this DLC. You're not getting rewarded for being good at the game. You're not getting rewarded for improving. You're getting rewarded because you have more time to spend on an activity than anyone else. How does that make any sense? As a matter of fact, I don't even really know who this benefits at all, because if you're a casual player, you're never going to sniff a tier 4 or tier 5 piece of loot, and if you're a hardcore player, do you really want to spend all that time just to, get tier 4s and tier 5s? It just makes no sense to me that playing the hardest raids in the game doesn't get you tier 5s regardless of, oh, I hit 450 on the season. I don't really understand that at all. And even then, I kind of feel like the whole tiering system is a whole nother level of just stupidity. I mean, I kind of get it for armor, you level up. That does give incentive for better stats where you can definitely get by with tier 1, tier 2 armor. You can spec into things, but having tier 4, tier 5 allows you to be more well-rounded. That's fine with me. But when you look at weapons, there has been nothing worse in this DLC than getting a god roll just to find out, oh, my bad, I got a tier 1 god roll, so this thing doesn't have enhanced perks. Whereas in the past, you could just spend some materials, you'd have enhanced perks, and the stat bonus from hitting level 20. You can't do that anymore. You don't get enhanced perks if you have a tier 1 weapon, and there is no way to save that god roll. You are basically just missing out because you weren't fortunate enough to get it at a tier 2 plus drop. Which, as I mentioned before, who is mainly getting tier 1s, tier 2s, and a little bit of tier 3s? Casual players who have less time to spend the game. So essentially the people who are already, spending time out of their busy schedule to play the game in the first place aren't getting rewarded at all. And when they do get rewarded, they can't even really make the most of those rewards because it's not even an enhanced version of the gun when they've been able to do that for months and months and months. It's just mind-boggling how anybody would actually want to invest time into this DLC. Now, trust me, I wouldn't be doing all this yapping if I wasn't going to propose a solution. So in my opinion, we need to be able to enhance tiers on guns with materials. That is what we need to be able to do. If I get a tier 1 drop, I should be able to enhance that at the very least to a tier 4, right? It should cost a lot of materials, but I shouldn't be punished by, I get a perfect roll and then I can't do anything with that roll because I was just unlucky. That's the stupidest shit ever, and I just don't understand that, right? Now, if you want to leave tier 5s for people who do fully grind out to 450, by all means, be my guest. I think that is actually pretty cool, having something to fully grind for. But I would also like to see those tier 5s added to, the hardest activities in the game, regardless of being 450 or not. Because if I'm completing the hardest things, why am I getting a tier 1 just because, like I said before, I didn't want to spend 150 hours running solo ops? It's a horrible system. That being said though, it is about time that we move on from the solo ops tangents. It has done its damage to the game and we need to see a solution. But either way, the next thing we got to talk about is the Crucible, which is an absolute dumpster fire right now. And for anyone who actually, enjoys the PvP in this game like myself, it has not been giving us much to work with. For one, and I promise this is not a joke when I say it, you do not currently get Crucible reputation for playing all of the Crucible playlists. Now, I know that makes no sense because it's like, well, why would I not get Crucible reputation? Don't I need, more Crucible rep to get better rewards and have, things like the new Stars and Shadow drop or, the new Rocket Sidearm? Well, yeah, you do need the Crucible rep for that. But guess what? Crucible rep does not drop from any of the directory Crucible activities. So anything that is, I guess, connection-based matchmaking, which is what a lot of people like to play because you can use a wider variety of weapons regardless of your skill, and you can really enjoy everything in Destiny, right? Playing any of those playlists doesn't give you Crucible reputation, and you don't get any of the new guns. You actually get red war drops with 1 perk on them. They don't even have 2 perks. And I'm not even joking. You can see videos of this, or you can, watch any of my PvP videos I posted this season. I believe a couple videos back, I got a does not compute from Red War with 1 perk. I am getting guns with 1 perk when Destiny 2 released in 2017? I mean, I ain't even trying to overly complain, but god damn, man, a red war drop is ludicrous, dude. Why am I getting that? But either way, we need to move on to the second problem, which Bungie can just not seem to get a grip of whatsoever, and that is special ammo economy. I don't understand what is even happening at this point. There is a lot less special in PvP, which I thought was maybe a good thing at first, but it really isn't, because what Bungie decided to do this season was introduce spread shot hand cannons. And at first I thought, these are going to be gimmicky, these are going to be pretty cool weapons. but they're just pseudo special weapons with infinite ammo, if I'm being honest. So now people can reliably hit you with a little bit of damage and then clean up with those spread shot hand cannons way easier. And they're kind of just better than pellet shotguns, if I'm being honest. I know that sounds wild because they're primary ammo weapons technically, but for a good player, those things clean up so much easier, and they actually have more range in the first place than a regular pellet. So I don't even know what's going on. Like, are we trying to take down special weapons, or are we trying to just give special weapons a different label and then call it good? Enough about those specials though. There is one more thing I want to talk about pertaining to Crucible before we get into trials, and that is comp. At the time of me making this video, there is currently no new emblem for hitting max rank in comp, so essentially there is no reason to play it outside of getting Solemn Remembrance if you really care about the gun that much. And I'm going to be honest, a lot of people kind of like Solemn Remembrance, a lot of people don't, because it's a 140 precision archetype. Bungie didn't make it a 180 for some reason, which would have been really cool, because 180s with precision instrument they're outstanding right now with the weapon stats. So could have gotten an old taste of Not Forgotten, and Bungie kind of fumbled the ball there. Not sure what happened. But either way, even beyond if you want Solemn Remembrance or not, right? There's no emblem for hitting max. That sucks for people who actually want to grind comp. And then on top of that, you also have zero way to farm any of the old comp weapons. You can't get Rose, you can't get Mercurial Overreach, which is the sniper, I believe. I might be butchering some of these names, but I think there's also the Balsarius D. There's a few different ones in there. The Riposte, the Auto Rifle. You guys get the point. There is no way to farm for those weapons anymore. They are just completely gone. And I think somebody was telling me that Zur can sell them, but the odds Zur is going to sell you a good roll on Rose is just ridiculous. And if you are wondering why I messed up and brought up True Prophecy for like half a second right there, True Prophecy actually was bugged for the longest time with Zur, where every time you would sell it, it had a reload masterwork. So if that happens with something like Rose, nobody wants a reload masterwork. So I mean, like I said, it probably wouldn't happen, but the fact that that bug even happened in the first place and you can't actually grind for your own roll, it genuinely feels awful, man. And at the end of the day, what it really boils down to is how hard would it be for Bungie to just maybe add a currency that you get from playing comp games, and then you can use that currency to focus the old weapons at Shaxx. How hard would that be? And even if they didn't want to give us a way to focus them or add some new currency, why can't we just have, a random chance in addition to getting Solemn Remembrance at the end of games to get things like I said, Rose or Balsarius D, any of those like options? I don't get why you would remove them entirely. Anyways, though, that's enough about comp and Crucible for now. We need to move on to the final topic of today's video, Trials of Osiris. I don't think I have ever seen a mode in any game that has lost its identity as hard as Trials has. Trials obviously released in Destiny 1 House of Wolves basically a decade ago, and at that time, you had to get 9 wins to go flawless, but you did have, Passage of Confidence, Passage of Mercy, or rather, Boon of Mercy, Boon of Confidence, if you were playing that long ago, but most of you guys probably don't remember that. Either way, the reason I'm saying that is important is Trials has only gotten easier and easier to make to the Lighthouse over time, so much to the point where it has kind of just lost its, flavor entirely, and there's not really any sense of achievement, there's not any sense of accomplishment for going flawless anymore, and it just overall does not feel rewarding at all. I also don't even understand how it's considered flawless when you can lose as many times as you want and still make it to the Lighthouse. I don't even understand what's going on. Because Bungie, what y'all could have done was y'all could have made Trials, more rewarding while also not ruining it for hardcore players or very good PvP players, that want to grind the game mode out. And for anyone who thinks I'm being elitist with that take, let me just put it into a different perspective. I am not the biggest PvE player by any means, right? I don't go into raids thinking that, oh man, I'm going to wipe 15 times, and then on the 15th wipe, Bungie is going to automatically pass me on to the next encounter and give me rewards. I don't expect that to happen. I don't expect to do well in a raid I have no knowledge on. I expect that it's going to, take trial and error. I'm going to have to learn mechanics. I'm going to have to watch a video or two. I fully understand that. But Trials now, on the flip side of that, just basically hands you rewards for just participating in the game. You don't have to go, you don't have to technically go flawless anymore, although I guess it's still considered flawless. You know what I mean? Even though you can lose a bajillion times and you still go to the Lighthouse. there is quite literally zero identity in that game mode anymore. And it just makes for some of the, least intense and boring matches of Trials ever. I mean, I still watch some of my friends who stream Trials. I watch it and I'm just like, well, if they lose this game, guess what? Nothing happens. Whereas before, you would get matches where, let's say you're watching somebody like Walla, right? Back in the day, let's say he lost his Mercy to a cheater and now he's on game 7. He's playing some really sweaty team. The stakes are high and it's like, oh my God, what is going to happen? You know what I mean? Now, it doesn't matter because you lose. It's like, oh, well, we'll just play the next game. You have basically infinite mercies. It's just, I don't understand how that's exciting to anybody. I don't understand how that's rewarding. I don't understand how anybody can really, defend that, because at that point, it's not Trials. It's a whole different mode. And it's almost gotten to a point where it's like, how do you really fix the mode? Because you can't just revert it to however it used to be, because then everybody who got these Mickey Mouse flawlesses, they just still have them. And then future players are just going to get screwed over who maybe haven't even played the game yet. Maybe they're new lights, they want to get in Trials, whatever it is. It kind of puts you in a really weird spot. I guess what I would do personally if I was in the shoes of Bungie would be to kind of keep the lighthouse the same as it is right now, where you can lose as many times and still get there. But if you do go flawless, you get better rewards than anybody who loses multiple times. And on top of that, because I guess technically you do with the tiering system, whatever, you guys get it, it's stupid, right? But either way, if you go flawless, genuinely flawless, you win all 7 games, you don't lose once, or, let's say you have a Mercy card, you only lose one time, right? You genuinely go flawless, you should have a small chance to get an exclusive ornament for whatever Trials weapons are in rotation at the moment. Let's say Igneous is there. I can get an Igneous Hammer ornament with a small chance. That would motivate me to genuinely play Trials, right? And obviously, we would need the ability to reset cards after going flawless so we could, keep farming that. It would be pretty damn cool. And that would actually motivate me and a lot of other people to play Trials of Osiris. Whereas right now, not a lot of people really have the motivation outside of, oh man, I'll just Mickey Mouse half-ass these games and I get Lighthouse. Whoa, let's go. I got my loot. It's just, who cares, man? There's nothing exciting about it. Now, with that being said, though, that is pretty much everything I wanted to cover in today's video. I basically just wanted to, give my overall thoughts and kind of explain why I feel like Edge of Fate is just not really a great DLC, and it's not what we really needed for Destiny 2. That being said, I also want you guys to understand I did not make this video out of a place of hate for Destiny 2 or anything. I wouldn't still be playing the game if that was the case. It's mainly due to the fact that I believe Destiny has a lot more potential than what it's outputting right now, and it just seems pretty lazy. It seems like it's not really the best work of Bungie by any means. But either way, though, that is pretty much going to do it for today's video. If you guys did end up enjoying it, I would greatly appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel, as well as left a like and a comment letting me know what you thought. It's been Gravely. Peace.